I call Jenny Salisa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Southern DHB Elections Bill. This bill will exempt Southern DHB from the 2016 triennial DHB elections, Mr. Speaker, and it will enable the elected commissioners that are currently there to stay in place until December of this year so that they continue to govern the DHB for another 3 years. Mr. Speaker, as far as I know, this is the very first time that such a 3-year extension has been applied to the health sector. Now, the Labour Party supports this bill to the next stage, but we have some concerns. Mr. Speaker, one of those concerns is there is a lack of transparency around the DHB's actual situation right now. Earlier this year in April, the Minister rejected rumours that a Commissioner would be brought in to sort out the Southern DHB financial mess. However, the struggling Southern DHB board were fired just 2 months later in June. Public meetings were also scrapped in the same month in June. Communication with staff and the public has since that time also been questionable. In June, the Minister stated that the 26th election for the Southern DHB would go ahead and that new members of the board were expected to take up their roles after the next local board body elections in September, October of next year. But a spokesperson for the Minister, Dr. Coleman, said that a return to an elected board next year had not actually been promised, as stated in the Otago Daily Times. And here we are in December, Mr. Speaker, debating the law change needed to delay democratic elections in the usual cycle and to leave the appointed commissioners in place for several more years. In a statement last week, Dr. Coleman said that the Commissioner and her deputies were starting to turn the deficit challenge around, that apparently an improved deficit position of $35.9 million for 2015 to 16 for the Southern DHB has been agreed, which shows that progress is being made. Staff, on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, report no discernible difference. The DHB runs crucial public health services vital to the lives of many, many people in the South. Mr. Speaker, the funding model for health is indeed broken. The government continues to under-resource health services, and that is one of the main issues here. The government has underfunded health by $1.7 billion in real terms since 2010. Refusing to carry out a full review of the funding model is having adverse effects across the country to the Southern DHB and to many other DHBs, 9 the last time we counted. The Southern Health District Health area is the largest geographically here in New Zealand. The problems today that they are facing partly flows from the merger of the Otago and the Southern DHB 5 years ago. And at that time, very little thought was given to how the merger would impact on the region. Mr. Speaker, figures released earlier this year seem to show that the Southern DHB had actually been starved of the necessary funds that it needs. The government should ensure that adequate funding to the region's health needs are not put at risk. The government must develop a plan, it should have a map, and it should have genuine deliverables and ensure adequate resourcing with a plan that is robust and actually make these plans available to the public. Mr. Speaker, the Minister can't keep pushing the responsibility for sorting this financial mess out to the Commissioner behind closed doors. If indeed, as the Minister states, the situation is showing improvement, why not return to democracy, the public accountability at the very first available opportunity at the next local board elections? It is very unclear, Mr. Speaker, why or even whether a 3-year extension is suddenly required. I look forward to the debate and clearer information as this bill progresses to the Select Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.